Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. And this time I'm doing a bit more of a mainstream movie, and I finally broke down and watched Inception. It's a 2010 science fiction thriller film directed by Christopher Nolan, and it stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ken Watanabe, Tom Hardy, Ellen Page, Cillian Murphy, Tom Berenger, and Marion Cotillard. In this film, Cobb, a skilled thief who commits corporate espionage by infiltrating the subconscious of his targets, is offered a chance to regain his old life as payment for a task considered to be impossible. Inception. The implantation of another person's idea into a target's subconscious. So, what did I think of Inception? So, I've been kind of thinking like, not. This is one of those movies that I'm like, it's really long, and it is, and I'll talk about that. It's really long. It's Christopher Nolan, who, from the couple things I've seen from him, I wasn't really impressed. Batman Begins, I saw when I was a little kid, and I didn't like it as a little kid. And when I rewatched it, like years back, I wasn't big on it either. And Dark Knight, which people keep saying it's like one of the best action movies of all time, and to be honest, the action is not that great. And the story and Christian Bale as Batman doesn't really work. He works as Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't work as Batman. I think Michael Keaton in the 80s Batman, 80s, 90s Batman movies did better, but that's besides the point. I'm not huge on Christopher Nolan from what I've seen from him so far. Granted, I haven't seen most of his work, but he seems to have an issue with pacing with a lot of things, and I do think this film has a bit of that. I still found it decent. I have issues, and I don't want to make this a spoiler review exactly because it's kind of hard to talk about this movie in that way where you're talking about exactly what's happening because it is a very confusing movie. But let me get to the cast first. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Dom Cobb. He goes into people's dreams and shit. He's okay. I don't love Leonardo DiCaprio as an actor. I think he's much better in films like frickin' what is it? Catch Me If You Can. Um, I like I didn't mind him in Titanic. Excuse me. Um, he was good in The Departed. Great Gatsby. I don't think he's a terrible actor. I just think a lot of the films that he gets popular for are not his best movies. But he's fine here. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Arthur, basically his partner. I didn't like him in this. He was very boring. He seemed bored every second. I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Ever since I saw him on Third Rock from the Sun as Tommy, I think he's a very fun character in that show. And maybe it's just that he's more suited to comedy than serious films. I haven't seen a ton of his serious stuff. Ken Watanabe plays Saito. He's basically a guy that's got Dom working for him in exchange for him getting to go home to his family. Um, he's he's fine. He's kind of there. For most of the movie, he's incapacitated, so I can't. There's not really a lot I can go off of. Tom Hardy plays Eames, basically their shooter. He's doing a lot of the heavy shooting near the end of the movie. Um, he's fine. A lot of the cast here are kind of just underutilized and don't do a lot, to be honest. Um, Ellen Page is Ariadne. Um, it's a student of Dom's dad, played by Michael Caine, who's barely in the movie. I don't really need to talk about him. He's there. He's Michael Caine. He does a good job. She does a good job here. Um, I liked her acting a lot better back in the day when she wasn't annoying. She's become very annoying now. And yes, I know he I know Ellen is now Elliot. I understand. I say she because in the context of this movie, it is a female actress at the time of the movie playing a female character. That's how I personally see it. If you have an issue with that, I'm sorry. It's just me. It's not transphobic. It's just, do you know how confusing it would be to keep saying it's a male playing a female character when this film came out, Elliot was Ellen. So that's why I'm saying Ellen. Um, but yeah, she does a good job in this. Um, Killian Murphy is Robert Fleischer Jr. He's fine. Tom Berenger too. Marion Cotillard is good. Um, my biggest issue with this film is the pacing. Now I know I talk about that a lot. I talk a lot about films being way too long. This film is 148 minutes, meaning it is 2 hours and 28 minutes. That is way too long for this concept. This concept should have been at the very most like an hour and 45 minutes. And that's the thing, when you actually get into the parts of the film that are really interesting, this film breezes by. The Once you get past the excruciatingly slow first hour of this film, excuse me, and when I say excruciatingly slow, there are still parts of the first hour that I think are cool or are visually interesting or are there's like some good lines of dialogue. I do think that. But for the most part, it is very slow, very dialogue heavy, and I can understand people not wanting to keep watching it if they're bored by this. I can understand that. And that's kind of how it was with my mom because I knew that my mom tried to watch this and she said she couldn't get past the first hour. And I don't blame her, but does the second half of the film or does when you get past an hour in, is the movie perfect? No, but it is entertaining. I think if you could have trimmed that first hour a bit of the unneeded stuff or had done a bit more visual storytelling, like just showing us how this stuff works instead of like kind of treating the audience like idiots. And yes, there are other movies that do this, but in this movie it came off so much more blatant because of how people talk about this as if it's like perfect sci-fi or a perfect representation of dreams when it really isn't. There are cool things that they do with the dreams. Don't get me wrong. I like the sequence where the city folds over itself, or Ellen Page's character, um, moves these two mirrors so that they're opposite each other, and then when she puts her hand up to the mirror, it shatters, and then it creates um, this infinite like walkway. I thought that was really cool. There are a lot of really interesting things. There's her and Leonardo DiCaprio's characters are sitting at a cafe, and then things start blowing up around them, and it's basically she's freaking out, so the dream world is becoming unstable, and it's really cool to watch. There's like some really interesting segments. There's a bit um near the beginning where I'm having issues with the names. Leonardo DiCaprio, his character, is in the dream world and he needs to be woken up before the dream world completely collapses. And they dump him in this bathtub full of water, and in his dream, a ton of water starts torrenting from the tops of the building that he's in. And I thought that was a really nice way of mixing in the dream world with the other dream world that they're in. That's part of why I can't really talk about this in detail because this film is very confusing um, in how it does it. Not confusing as in I'm too stupid to understand it. Confusing in that it's on purpose just trying to be complex. And of course, a bunch of people will love it just because it's complex. But I wish they'd done more with that. Because they do some of it later in the film where they bring back the what you're experiencing in in the um in the further closer to being awake dream world, like this is the third dream world and you're asleep in the second dream world and the third dream world is whatever. And there'll be like a car flipping over and there's like a fight scene between Joseph Gordon-Levitt and another guy as the like hotel that they're in is spinning and you see them like running across the floor or across the wall and all that, having this fight. And I thought it was very interesting, and the gravity keeps changing. That was I wish they had done more with that. Um, but yeah, like again, the first half of the film or the first hour, part of why I can only give this a 7 and don't want to give it higher is partly due to that and the ending. And people have talked about the ending a lot. I guess I can talk about it. Um, Spoilers, spoiler warning. Gonna be talking about the ending. Let me mark it down. So basically, what happens by the end, they've done all this stuff. They've succeeded in their mission and brought back the Asian guy, Saito, who was dying. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go see my kids." And he walks out of the airport and he walks out of the airport with Michael Caine, who's his dad. And basically, he goes to this house that he's been having in his dreams where he was with his wife, who's dead because she thought she was in a dream world, or something, and she killed herself, um, thinking that she would wake up from the dream world. And he starts he has like a little spinny top that he spins on the table to see if he's dreaming. If it keeps spinning indefinitely, that means you're in a dream, I guess. And if it falls, then that means you're in the real world. And then he starts it spinning and then goes outside to hug his kids, and then the camera focuses on the spinning top as it seems to keep spinning, and then it seems like it starts wobbling. And there's been a nonstop debate online of, oh, is he in a dream world? Is he not? Did he actually wake up? And I found that very annoying. I was like, can we not just have one movie like this that ends in a good way where we know what's happened at the end? Because for the most part in this movie, you're just constantly questioning what is real, what isn't, how certain things affect other things, and I can see it getting on certain people's nerves, and rightfully so. It is annoying to constantly have the movie tell you, "Oh, this isn't real, this is real," and all that, and it's really in your face about it. With the movie does kind of treat its audience like they're idiots. I hope people can at least agree on that because it does. It's like, oh, we haven't, we're still in the dream world, but we're not, and it's like, huh? And that is something I'd say detracts from the enjoyment of the film for me because I don't like being lectured to. Like I think this idea could be done better. There's a Russian film called I have it up there, Coma, that's kind of a similar concept and it looks like it does a bit more with that. I might watch that at some point. Well, I'll definitely watch it, but just never know when I'll feel up to watching it. But this film, along with having an over long running time, this concept does not need to be over 2 hours, let alone 2.5 hours. Um, this the acting for the most part is fine. I'd say the standout. Um, God, who would I say is the standout? I guess Ellen Page. There's not a ton of like there are dramatic scenes with Leonardo DiCaprio which I thought were kind of just meh. A lot of his acting can be either over the top or very low key, where he's it's uh, quiet contemplation. And this film, I don't know if I'd call it pretentious. There are some parts where I'm like they're trying to be deep and it's just clear really not deep at all. But as a fun sci-fi thriller, it kind of works if you can get past the first hour of this film, which I'm guessing most people did because this film has a 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, meaning it's basically an 8.4 out of 10. And I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that this is like one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. I would never say that. This does not beat out Star Wars for me. It doesn't even beat out Parallel, that indie sci-fi movie that I saw. Um it doesn't beat out. Let me see what other sci-fi movies I've seen. Uh Boss Level, I think, was a pretty interesting sci-fi action film where it's like Groundhog Day, but it's an action movie. Um, you had Frank Grillo, who's a charismatic lead. You had Mel Gibson as a pretty good villain. Um, Mandela Effect, directed by David Guy Levy, was a damn good sci-fi movie. Meander, a French kind of cube-like film. Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage. Um, Freaks with Emile Hirsch, Bruce Dern. Uh, Hotel Artemis with Jodie Foster, Sterling K. Brown. There's plenty of films I could list that I'd rather watch than this. And What Happened to Monday with Noomi Rapace. Um, but like, I think that what happen helps a lot of those films is that they aren't super long. I do believe there are sci-fi concepts that you could have be a 2.5 hour movie that aren't boring, but almost never have I seen films this long that don't have a bit of a pacing problem, where there's scenes that don't really need to be there, or scenes that kind of tell us things that we already know. Again, this film does treat you like an idiot at times. Um, but yeah, it's would I ever watch Inception again? Probably not, unless a friend of mine wanted to see it. But yeah, it's fine. I don't hate it. I'm glad I at least got it out of the way. But yeah, and also I have the Blu-ray right here because I have I have well, about to drop it. I have the Christopher Nolan collection, which I got for pretty cheap. It's it doesn't have the Prestige, but I have the Prestige on DVD. But yeah, um, it's about all I have to say. Just to finish off, I thought the ending was dumb and unnecessary. But yeah, that was my review of Inception. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put those down there as well. And movie reviewer next door, out.